Evening, how are you all doing? It is 7:30ish, it's Thursday, and that means it must be time for this shower of Tom Tit. So, is there anybody out there? If there is, how are you doing? What are you up to? Are you enjoying the weather? Yeah, again, since last week's live, not a great deal to report. On Saturday, I did go along with James to the Street Eliminator sort of gala awards dinner and awards ceremony. We went to the AGM first, which happened at about 4:30, which was one of the briefest AGMs I've ever been to. Basically, the organisers said, right, a couple of changes for next year, X and Y. You can evening matey, how you doing, Chris? It was a really brief AGM. These are the changes, off we go. After which there was, hello Biff, how you doing matey, all right? How are you, in fact, how are you getting along? Back at work, or? It was a really, really rapid AGM, followed by a couple of hours of sitting round, which most people took advantage of for a lot of chat and some drinking. To be fair, some people had started drinking well early. Hello Lee, how you doing? As I was driving, I didn't get to partake. I drank a lot of coffee. I drank a lot of the Kettering Park Hotel and Spa coffee, which, even though it comes with a little biscuit about the size of a 10p piece, it still cost a fiver. I mean, bloody hell. Any road, enough bitching about that. The awards ceremony was really good. It was so much positivity about it. I mean, not only they thank the organisers. The organisers are basically the Jack Hale and, frankly, the whole Hale family, who work so hard in terms of just, being the figurehead of the class and doing the ferret herding that is organising any class. And the ferret herding mostly seems to come... Hello Mike. Hello Nick. How you doing, matey? Yeah, the ferret herding mostly seems to fall to Gemma. Hello Andy. How's it going? Make cakes of light for cheaper than... Yes, I was only off work for 2 weeks, and the second week was only because work wouldn't let me. Oh, right, okay. Second week was work's decision. Bloody hell. Well, frankly, it's just been announced today that at work we're on an overtime embargo. So no overtime between now and the end of the year, which is going to put a small crimp in my Christmas. If they're telling you to stay at home, they might have an ulterior motive. The Hales organised the class. Like I said, most of the ferret herding falls to Gemma, who... Hi Ian, you all right, matey? Yeah, everybody's grand, thanks. Everybody with you? It's one of those cases where the best man for the job is a woman. Hello Gert, how you doing? Happy birthday for the other day. And she manages to get everybody organised somehow, and I don't envy them that job. Anyway, so there's that. All the sort of people, the point scorers, picked up a lovely sort of framed photo of their ride. The top 3 got prizes. Oh, I'm glad to hear it, at least. Trophies, and the Spirit Award, Spirit of the Series Award, went to Rob Slater. Woo! Rob Slater, a guy who has had plenty to deal with over the past couple of years, and still managed to finish not only the Code Red 57, but the... my work situation is bad enough to be saving up for and booking a 360 course, whatever that is, and do a bit of dual trading. Now, that sounds a bit with Nail and I. Whatever floats your boat, mate, I'm sure. The only way I'd make money off selling my arse is if I sold it by the pound. Just cold. Yes, you're not wrong. So anyway, Rob Slater, Code Red 57 Chevy, which he managed to finish. He also managed to finish Trude's 34, both of which are gorgeous. And, right, okay. And he's also doing a grand job on a Triumph Stag. And either way, that 57, which appeared at just about every round he could attend, the reasons he missed some rounds were his fault, if you like, rather than the cars. He drove them every time. He lives Stoke Way, and he drove the car from there to Santa Pod, raced. I think his best in the year was an 8.5, although I'm sure somebody will tell me if I'm wrong. Then drove it home. Right at the moment, he drives the car, and Trude drives the daily with the caravan, purely because he hasn't yet got a tow bar on the 57. I mean, yet, you'll notice the word yet. And yeah, that spirit. And of course he did Street Week. Basically, if I can't get wet in winter, I'll get muddy instead. Yes, sorry, I did bring that up. Yeah, he also completed Street Weekend. Inside the top 10? I can't remember. I know he finished pretty well. He finished round about the same as James, I think. But anyway, so he did bloody well. And what a geezer. He's such a pleasant guy. And, yeah, so one spirit. Terrific. There were plenty of candidates for that award, actually. Any of whom would have got a monster round of applause for picking it up. Yeah, that sounds about right. He was 8th, James 9th, something like that. I can't remember. Oh, or was it 7th? Either way, he was that neck of the woods. And, but yeah, everybody was very pleased to see him take that trophy. Happy days. There was also plenty of mention of newcomers who have threatened to come along for next season, which is great. And I mean, you get plenty of people, oh, yes, I'll be out next season, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure we've all been guilty of that. But there are a number of cars that really seem to be actually waiting in the wings, getting ready for next season. You may have spotted Vicky Smith's Buick, which, and if you haven't spotted it, then you've really not been looking, which ran down into the, I think, 801. I mean, we were all crossing every appendage we had, waiting for that 7, and no, she just teased us with 8.01. Several 8 zeros, in fact. Anyway, there's more to come from that Buick. And her other half, I believe, is spannering away feverishly on his own car. And that is going to be some pair of fucking weapons when they come out. Anybody remember the Bentley that used to race in Street Eliminator a couple of years ago? Well, if you didn't know, that is now owned by Billy McDermott, who is gaffer at Top Speed Automotive and CM Frost. He owns it. CM Frost is not far from Santa Pod. He's threatening to bring that back out. I was really, really rooting for him to bring back his yellow 69 Camaro, which would, crikey, I could make myself very foolish for that car. However, this Bentley, not to be sniffled at. It's rather lovely. The table me and James were sat on, we were next to a fella who I don't remember meeting before, who has a Mark II Zephyr. Ford small block, which makes me think, is he the only person in Street Eliminator running a Ford? Anyway, he loves a good weapon when it comes out. Well, there's 2. 2 good weapons. No, let's not go down that avenue, Andy. Yeah, is the what did Bentley make of the Street Eliminator? Bentley Continental then? I do not know. However, probably much the same as Aston Martin made of the similar Aston Martin that came out in Street Eliminator, which is not a lot they can do about it. Which is a shame, because you'd have thought they'd have got on board with it, but no, they've, whatever. So anyway, this chap who was on our table, Mark II Zephyr, back at the Mopar Euronats Street Eliminator class, held a sort of an open casting call, if you like. Fancy the look of Street Eliminator? Come along, meet the crew, have a tryout. We'll have a sort of a mock eliminator, if you like. Come and join in, and a bunch of people did. Several of whom have actually expressed an interest in joining in. One of them already has, that was Vicky Smith. And this guy competed in that in his Mark II Zephyr. He's talking about coming along next year with the Zephyr, hot forward small block power, and a Rucker Nitrous. Marvellous, I like that combo. And we're glad to see him there. That's the one. D'Souza, yes. So yeah, it was all really sort of good and positive, and all it means now is it's still like 5 months. No, yeah, 5 months till the first round. December, January, February, March, and it's right at the end of March. Okay, so only 4.5 months. But either way, that's a lot of fecking winter to dredge through before we get to that. Other than that, what have I done? Well, I've been ever so busy. I've done cockle. The fan, the blower motor for my Mercedes is still in its box on the back seat. It's done a couple of 100 miles without leaving the box. That's all. Oh yeah, it did. Another new fault it's developed, to my delight, was when you press the central locking, all 4 doors, the boot, and the fuel filler cap lock. Then, of course, when you press the button again, all 4 doors, the boot unlock, and in this case, the filler cap doesn't. This required me on Tesco's car park to remove all the rubbish from that side of the boot, and there's a lot of it. Remove the side trim, the side sort of carpety side trim, disappear up to the shoulder in a James Herriot stylee in the rear quarter panel, and try and tweak the little locking plunger that keeps the fuel filler cap locked. Or in this case, think, oh, bugger it, and just heave the lot out. So, yeah, I'll just announce that my filler cap doesn't lock anymore, haven't I? Oh, God. So, other than that, pretty much nothing been going on. In fact, so little, in fact, that the photos that I took from the Street Eliminator evening are still on the camera. I haven't downloaded them yet. So, what size blower motor you get that quote? Oh, it's about this big around, and it's got a 120 watt electric motor. No, it's not 120 watts. It can't be. That'd be 10 amps, wouldn't it? I've been kind of productive. I now have acquired a shiny new fuel tank for the Chevy to go alongside its torque converter lockup kit. Ooh! So, is this a straight replacement tank, or have you gone for a big shiny barrel tank, such as you might see on the side of an American big rig? Either way, cool. Torque converter lockup kit, that's cool. The fact that it's meant for a Dennis bin truck, you're not selling it to me here. It was me thinking it was going to be on some sort of show quality Peterbilt or something from the 70s. No, it's a bin wagon. Oh well, why are all bin men called Dennis? Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much my lot. There's not a lot. Did anybody go along to the NEC for the Classic Car Show last weekend? Like I say, I thought about it very briefly and then thought, I've got other stuff to do and I've got a lot better things to spend my money on. It's big, black and cylindrical. You're baiting me here, aren't you, Andy? Well, I'm not taking him. No, Morris, shh, don't take him on. Don't take him on. Yeah, did anybody go along to the NEC for the Classic Car Show? And like I said, I fancied it, but then I thought, yeah, I haven't really got the time. And I looked at the prices and I thought, I certainly haven't got the money. So I appreciate that, you know, it's a day out and whatnot, but, phew, crikey. like I say, when you're looking at over 50 quid to park your car and get in, it's like, I know if you compare it to things like a big gig or a football match, it's actually fairly good value, but I wasn't that keen, let's put it like that. So, did anybody else go? Do tell. Right, I was thinking about it, but decided to wash my hair instead. And did you put it back in its drawer after that? Well, that's the thing, is that you'd have a fair old dredge just to get there. And the thing is, like I say, I quite enjoy the show, but if I'd driven for a few hours like you'd have to, I'd be kind of disappointed. That said, I wasn't there. It could have been fantastic. It could have been like, circus elephants and wandering topless dancing girls for all I know. But I'm sure I'd have heard about it by now if it was. And, I must admit, I nearly sold the small block Chevy for a diesel lump the other day. Ooh. You have a bit of an affinity for diesel. What lump was it? Was it something that would make me go, ooh, or something that would make me go, what? Well, my head was turned by a very cool lump. I've got a very cool lump in my trousers, mate. It wouldn't turn many heads. I've been busy packing my mankini. Oh, and it's gone. The lump's gone. I've been busy packing my mankini for Malta on Tuesday. Oh, Tuesday, because of course, next weekend, not this weekend, is the MDRA finals at Halfar in Malta. Cummins V508. You'll have to explain what that is. I mean, I don't know my diesel very well at all. Yeah, so Halfar next weekend. The racing starts on Thursday. And it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think Wednesday is a test day, isn't it? And aren't there a few Brits going over again? I mean, racers, 8-litre V8. What's not to like in there? I'll tell you what I saw a while ago. It was no, I haven't seen it since. There was one of these sort of online auction sites where auction houses advertise and put the catalogues of their online auctions. So, there's everything on there, usual bleeding crap local auctions. Auctions for pallets of returns, which is just boxes of unspecified bum nuts. Occasionally there'll be, farm sales or estate sales or whatever, and a few car auctions. A couple of sales that cropped up were for marine engines, or engines that were used either in boats or onshore for, I don't know, other duties. A lot of them were stored in crates as backups, but never actually used. Some of them were and they were all big diesels, by and large. Some of them were like older Detroit diesels, V8s, with superchargers, and other engine Detroit diesels with superchargers. And then you would get your big 8 and 10 litre diesel motors. I'm not sure who's there racing this year, but usually between 4 and 8 cars of Brits racing. Yeah, is that guy with the Ford Escort van that says BJ Champion on the side? Is he not going? Along with a few others. Most of the ones that I've seen that have said they're going are front-wheel drive cars. But fair play to them. Jesus, what, anybody who thinks, Melbourne Raceway is a bit far, isn't it? Really? Is it further than Malta? I mean, the only difference is, you drive to Malta, you end up on a beautiful island in the Mediterranean. You drive to Melbourne, you end up in a field in Yorkshire. However, fair play to anybody who's got the commitment to. Andy Harris is usually there. Which one's he? Hang on, he's not the Ford Escort van, is he? Anyway, yeah. So Malta, there's a handful of Brits going. Fair play to them. Well done to you. And there's a lot of Brits going along as spectators. It is becoming the sort of end of season. Oh yes. Oh God, what's it called? I know the car, and I can't remember. What is it called? 'Cause it's got a name, hasn't it? Anyway, it's not the Fraudster. That's the blue one, isn't it? And I can't imagine a Harris would have put a Vauxhall engine in a Ford. Anyway, yeah. So that event is becoming a bit of a sort of an end of season party for the Brits. You know, our season's over. Boo hoo. Let's all go to Malta, watch a load of good racing, drink beer. And as plans go, it has a lot of merit to it. And the host Mark Wenesco, red 2-litre Pinto, you there? Oh, right, yeah. Usually there. Oh, so he makes this a regular trip, does he? Right. BJ Champion was there last year. Yeah, it's like I say, it's turning into the season closing event for Brits. I was hoping to be one of them, but yes, that's gone for a squirt. Oh, there you go. I was thinking there's another thing that I didn't elect to spend my money on this week, which is a puncture repair. One of my tyres kept going down on me, not in any kind of good way. When I was in Malta, there were some really cool old cars there. 1970 Nissan Taxi looked exactly like a Ford Falcon. I'm trying to picture that. Well, that's the thing, is that there still are quite a lot of cool old British cars there, and they do. A, they know what they're worth, and B, they do look after them, and they do some interesting stuff with them. That's it. Yeah. I assume so. I mean, presumably, basically anybody with an old Ford and the surname of Harris, you kind of put 2 and 2 together, even if you're making 5. Any BJ is champion, in my opinion, says Lee. Hey, buy me dinner and let's see where the evening goes. But yeah, they really do some cool stuff over there, and they're really, really hot on their 4-cylinder engines. They do fantastic stuff with like crossflows and Pintos, and I mean now you're getting a lot more, you know, your Jap stuff, and you know, Volkswagen and what have you. Malta was the British Empire's equivalent of Cuba. Well, yeah, and yeah, it was most significant during World War II. Only other tosh I've bought recently is snow shovel for impending snowmageddon. Is it impending? Or is it the same newspaper story they stick out every bastard year at this time? A Tego don't play on that slipping, so why not? I'd have thought it was twin wheel at the back, so twice the traction. Or will it be as clumsy in the snow as the LDV, which, yes, it has twin wheel rear axle, but A, it doesn't have enough power to really overpower them unless there's snow and ice on the ground. And even then, I mean, the bloody thing's as clumsy as a hippo on ice skates anyway. So, snow doesn't really make a difference. It's all over the bloody road, whatever the weather. Yeah, so is it actually Snowmageddon, or is that just another news story? It's flummoxed by the polished stuff for sure. Yes. So either way, yes, Malta looks like a laugh. Hoping to go. Oh yeah, that's another thing I had to spend money on this week. It was a puncture repair. My tyre kept going down on me. Insert foul joke here. But was it one of the 2 tyres that was Boulder snooker balls? No, it was one of my nice winter tyres that live on the back, and so I had to have that repaired. I really need some front tyres. Like I say, one of them's as bold as a snooker ball, the other one's well on its way. It's very tail happy. At 25 feet long, there is generally a fine line between hilarity and blind terror. Well, I find that with a lot of things in life. There was a couple of very fast starlets there last year, so some different makes getting into the fray. Are we talking old starlets like the ones that, you know, oval racers would be absolutely pulling themselves around the room about? And there were a couple who used to appear on the drag strip, wasn't there? Was there a Taz Racing starlet? Or did I imagine that? I'm sure it was yellow. But I stand to be wrong. Yeah, there's... Basically, any interesting base material is good to see. Much as I love 57 Chevys and 69 Camaros, something really left field makes me stop and go, oh, wow. Like that Corolla of the Huxleys. Lovely, and sort of a repop of a car they had, well, the dad had years ago. Rear-wheel drive ones from the late 70s, early 80s. A Viking. Well, there you go. That would be unusual. However, it hasn't made me stop and go, wow, look at that, because I haven't seen it yet. Good for drifting, though. I used to drift around wet roundabouts in the scaffold wagon. So, basically, if the wagon was full of scaffold poles, did it act like a sort of a tube chassis and just sort of brace the vehicle? Took that a couple of years ago now. There's a guy who runs a scaffold company who lives just down the road, and he parked his wagon at the side of the road full of scaffold poles. You know, big long flatbed. Some helpful bugger during the night came along, released all his ratchet straps, and if you've never heard what must have been 200 scaffold poles fall off a flatbed wagon at 1 o'clock in the morning in a residential area. Oh, God, what a racket. I haven't seen curtains twitching that fast since that lady did that naked parachute jump. Steve Evans raced a starlet with a Pinto in it. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a good variety of stuff, and they do love the four-pots. There are stirrings, Dave, gentle ones, but stirrings nonetheless. Yeah, interesting old stuff, and you can't beat a bit of that. And here's me talking about the Maltese scene as if I've ever set foot on that island, which I haven't. But I will. One of these days I bloody will. And well, I'd love to go there any time of year, but I'd really like to go now. If there's any small British sports car that deserves rodding, it's the MGTD. MGTD. I think that's one of them things that, yeah, one of them, but it'd make more of a good sort of British sports special, which is the hot rodder equivalent that wears a cravat. Yeah, hence the recent purchases. Well, fair enough. Yeah, so MGTD. For no good reason. You know, you get Facebook notifications. Well, I should have a Facebook notification that whenever I open up the Marketplace app, a window just appears going, bing, Dave, you haven't got a pot to piss in, don't even look. But by the way, Dave, us scaffolders hate them being called poles or bars, they're tubes. And they're not blanks, they're boards. Fine. Oh dear, I've pissed off all the scaffolders. Scaffold poles sounds right to me, but there we go, tubes. But yes, being tubular, let's face, Mike Oldfield would not have been impressed with that feckin' racket that happened out there. Scaffolding sticks, yes, which I believe in the Far East is actually the case, isn't it? They use bamboo, which will take it. Or it'll certainly take a load of skinny Chinese people shinning up them. Whether it would take a more robust builder, I don't know. Yeah. And I don't know why, but occasionally I'll see something that makes me think, oh yeah, I've got my knob right out for one of them at the moment. And one of these things, which keeps making a revisit, is a Cadillac Seville STS. You know the right hooker ones that were sold new in the UK? in this sort of half-baked, bodged-up attempt to crack the UK market with Cadillac back in sort of late 90s. My friend in Hong Kong would tell you that scaffolds is, yeah. It's fair enough, and it's, a renewable resource. Well, we need to build the scaffold tower taller. Go down the road and cut some front-wheel drive Baba. Yeah. I've got my knob right out for a Seville STS. And this has happened to me before. And then I've recovered. And the idea goes away again, and then it comes back. But, for no good reason. Thinking, what I really need is a nice, reliable, economical daily driver. How about a 4.6 litre V8 in a massive Cadillac? But no, it's, like I say, it goes away again, but then it keeps coming back. And reliable. Yes, let's pick a car with like pitiful reliability record in terms of head gaskets. And I know that's, you can't tar every one of them with the same brush, but there's no smoke and all that. Well, there's plenty of steam. And in order to perform a head gasket job, you've got to drop the engine at the car on its subframe, which means lifting the car up. I would happily daily a Cadillac Alante. Really? Okay. That's new. Gets proper sedan de Villebron. Well, basically, anything with sort of like a North Star or North Star Styly V8. Okay. Does anybody remember the Oldsmobile Aurora V8? What did that ever show up in? Because, like I say, back in the early 2000s, I went along to Shelby in Las Vegas. I was at the Strip. I was at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and Shelby was not far away. And I went there and I got a bit guided tour, and chit chat to a really nice fella who I'm convinced was English. Anyway, and he took me out in, and to my shame I can't remember what it was called, but it was the sort of Shelby's attempt at making a Cobra for the 90s. The North Star engine was pretty bad because GM didn't allow the blocks to season, which is a shame. If you took the heads off, the blocks walked. Well, all alley, and anyway, hold on, I'll come back to that. But yeah, and I got taken out by this guy for a quick spin. He said, we'll go out for a spin. And in this, was it the Shelby Series 2 or something like that? What was it called? Jesus. And, handsome car. And, he said, I'll take you out for a spin. It was only on some sort of business park, industrial estate thing. Bloody hell, 11s everywhere. And the arse was hanging out around every corner. There were things hanging out of my arse. And I thought, I want his job. And there's the 864 motor. Oh, 864 is this. Dreadful idea. Which they finally got right this century. But, that was powered by an Oldsmobile Aurora motor, and I'm not sure for the life of me why they picked that. And I'm damned if I can remember what that car was called. It was the Shelby... Probably got a bloody good... I've got loads and loads and loads of books up here. Must be in several of them. However... Yeah, we'll come back to it. Yeah, so that was memorable. But yeah, that used the Oldsmobile Aurora V8, and I'm thinking... They didn't pick that engine. After a lifetime of using Ford engines, they didn't suddenly pick this Oldsmobile engine for no good reason. What was a good reason? But the thing is, what did the Oldsmobile Aurora V8 get fitted to? And frankly, it wasn't long after that Oldsmobile went tits anyway. So Yeah. Anyway, there we go. If you know the answer, please tell me. I can't help thinking that it was related to the North Star anyway. But both those engines were made as a response to, they'd been dicking around with the big boxy Cadillacs in the 80s, and then along come Lexus with the 1UZ engine. Oh, V8, all alley, 4 overhead cams, 32 valves, absolutely beautiful, and can be tuned up to buggery. And the Americans went, right, actually that makes us look a bit bloody Christmas cracker, doesn't it? Let's make our own. And sure enough, along comes the Cadillac North Star with all aluminium and 4 cams and 32 valves, and oh crikey, we've not got it quite right. But there we go. Even so, I'd still like one. Ideally one that isn't, well, the water jacket isn't entirely made of K-seal. But hey-ho, whatever. I'll tell you what else I'd like. It just occurred to me, where the fucking curtain's gone from that window? You turn your back for 2 minutes. So anyway, here's me looking at things that I'd really, really like, despite the fact that I can afford none of them. So I'm not really looking too hard. There was someone else, and I thought, that's some half-decent, interesting rudder fodder there. And oh no, I'll tell you what it was. There was an advert. Occasionally somebody will find an advert in an old newspaper or an old car magazine and put it up on Facebook or whatever. I don't know what year it was from. I'm going to guess at something like 1974, where there was a garage in Yorkshire, I think, selling. Oh, you are to Bab cars. Bab? That a moth is to a flame. Yes, I am. This advert was for all, this garage's cars, and it was like, 1968 Hillman Hunter for a couple £100, this, that and the other. Or you could have a brand new Moskvich. And the saloon was, I think, £799, or the estate was £899, or the van, £699 for a brand new van. And I thought, I can't remember the last time I saw a Moskvich on the road in right-hand drive. And so it's certainly not one of the old 70s ones. My most abiding memory of them, I remember some guy who lived near me had one, a van. And it's only a couple of years old. And it was some proper iron curtain shizzle, this thing. And the rear lights, your red and amber rear lights, bleached to sort of pink and tangerine. And then Moskvich just pulled out of the UK. Apparently there was some bullshit case where they were supposed to all be highly dangerous and all catch fire. And basically it was, supposedly the story was just started by like Ford and the Roots group, because they were pissed off about all these really, really cheap imports showing up their own products. But yeah, and instantly Moskvich's, the second hand, they weren't worth a carrot, and they've all gone. And I'd really rather like one. I remember apparently there used to be a sort of a custom one on the custom scene in the late 70s, early 80s, and I think that was a van, and it was all sort of like painted and muraled up. Obviously long before my time, but if anybody remembers that, shout. Yeah, I thought £800 for a brand new Moskvich van. Moskvich, not a patch on the Wartburg. Well, the Wartburg was a 2-stroke, wasn't it? So I'd like to see you get that into a ULEZ zone. They're not all cack, they're all great. I mean, they probably were pretty poo, but I still love one. And look, where I work, there's quite a lot of guys from Eastern Europe work there, and I keep saying to them, I love all these old communist cars, and they look at me like I'm just waving me knob about. And when I say, I would love a Zafrochets. Honestly, some of them just turn and walk away. I think I'm puddled, but I would. It's that sort of Russian army trucks, however. Well, quite. That sort of Unimog looking thing. Bonkers. But yeah, I'd love a Zafrochets. And they all sort of go, why, you twat? They were awful. Yes, that's why I want one. And all the everything on the dash is in Cyrillic, so you've no idea what it means, and it's cool. And this pitiful little engine in the back, and oh, I just want one. However, like I said, the nearest I came to that would be I think the only all V8 powered monsters. Yes, I think the only Iron Curtain car I ever owned was a Yugo, a Zastavar Yugo, made when Yugoslavia was still around. And yeah, that was another car that, well, put it this way, I think I gave 50 quid for it. NSU was German, wasn't it? Because, yeah, the RO80, the rotary motor, they were a good-looking car. They were ahead of their time, looks-wise, weren't they? At least 10 years ahead of their time. But the Zafrochets looks like an NSU Prince, vaguely, if you squint a lot. And I think that's part of the appeal. I'd love an NSU Prince. I don't know why. Why do I want some bizarre 50-year-old rear-engine cack, especially coming into winter? Because if there's one thing that you get with a nice rear-engine car, it's tail-happy handling and a shit heater. I had a Skoda Estelle once. It was a ton of fun. Well, there you go. Because anyway, Wartburg was that was East German, but NSU was definitely West. I'm almost certain of it. Yeah, but that was a good-looking car, and it would be fun to put like a modern rotary, you know, an RX-8 rotary, hopped up a lot, into an RO80. That could be a riot, couldn't it? That would be a lot of fun. And there's another thing, that the rotary engine, they never quite got that right, did they? Yeah, it had a 64 bug, horrendous in anything but dry weather. Well, quite. And has anybody else noticed that BMWs, the driving machine, bit of snow and they're all dreadful. And I'm not talking about the big sort of SUV styly things. I'm talking about the BMW saloons. Rear-wheel drive. But one bit of bloody snow and they all turn into ditch hunters. NSU Spider was a very cute sports car with a rotary engine in the back. Don't remember having seen one of them. But I do keep coming across some very peculiar... What did I come across the other day? A DKW Auto Union 1000, which was another peculiar little 60s car with, I think that had the little two-stroke, three-pot thing. I had a Lada Riva estate and put a 2-litre Fiat twin cam in it. And, yeah, because, well, the Lada Riva was basically a Fiat 124, wasn't it? So in theory, twin cam should have been a drop-in swap. And I bet that was a riot. Well, as I'm approaching the grand old age of 40, I'm getting the I wants from Mark 1 XC90. Is that a car, a motorbike, a dildo? Think about it, it's not one of them Suzuki Jeep Coupe things, is it? What is it? I don't know. Okay. Nah, I'd still rather have the Lada. Oh, Christ. Volvo XC90. Oh, bloody hell, I know what you're talking about. I've seen them crop up quite cheap, which makes me think that they must be horrifyingly unreliable or something. Wolfsburg plant was going to be in the eastern side until the Brits stepped in. Yes, and you probably did know that Lord Roots was sort of sent over after the war to have a look at the Wolfsburg plant to see if he wanted it to produce cars, and he took a look at what they were designing, which was some sort of bizarre little roundy beetle-shaped thing with a flat 4 engine in the back, and said, well, nobody's going to want that shit. I don't want it. And walked away. Big engine. People are fannies about MPG. Oh, maybe that's it. Although, yeah, I don't know. The sort of people who are going to buy a big-ass SUV are probably not going to be the people who are going to wet their knickers about miles per gallon. Well, I don't know, maybe they are. I really don't know. I mean, yesterday I went to Tesco's and parked in the car park. I always park at the other end of the car park row from the shop, because people will bloody fight tooth and nail to get the parking spaces right next to the shop so they don't have to walk that extra 14 feet. Twats. And most of them could not park their breakfast, never mind their car. So I park at the other end. And I parked, a space away from me, because obviously the idea of parking there is so that you can leave a space between each car. Was a Lamborghini Urus or something, wrapped in matte black. I don't know how much they are, but well into 6 figures, I'm sure. At Tesco's, as you do. And all I could think of was, look at those brakes. Jesus, the brakes on it, the calipers. Well, you can't see that. It's out of shot. That's how big the calipers were. But, yeah, got to be 18 inches long in a sort of a semicircle. Or a crescent moon, shall we say. Talking about Suzuki's, the Jeep and Carry transmission are excellent choices. Really? Okay. I wouldn't have thought they'd put up with much, because the Suzuki Jeeps and the little Carry things were, what, 1.3? I don't know how much abuse they'd take. A Simca. Oh, not a little Simca 1000. Because do you remember the rally versions of them in the 70s? That's something I would instantly get me knob out about. There was one at, I can't remember what the event was, but I think it was it during COVID? Or well, not during COVID, obviously, but around that time, when Santa Pod suddenly threw a lot of events on, and they bundled a lot of them together. And one of them was some sort of retro show along with a load of other things. Ivan Hurst was the man. Okie doke. Producing the Beetle after the war. Yeah, because like I say, Lord Roots said, nobody's going to want that bollocks. Nobody's going to want that bollocks, but we've got the Imp coming up. Yeah, there was a little Simca 1000, and it was a 70s one, because it started off in the 60s. And it was bright orange, and I can't remember what the motor was, but it was not 1000. It was one of the larger versions. And the thing weighed about as much as a bag of wet farts. And with this motor in the back, he said it is a lot of fun, but you have to stay awake while you're driving it. It will not reward clumsiness. And yeah, that really, yes, I was having that. But mind you, there's a lot of Simcas that I kind of like. I mean, do you know, was it the Simca 1100 Ti or something like that was down as being the first hot hatch? It was a Simca 1100, and it had a warm engine and twin Webers or something like that. And it was a 3-door, because most of the Simca 1100s are 5-door. And it was a 3-door. And yeah, that is, they reckon that picked the Golf GTI to being the first hot hatch by a couple of years. And apparently the engine was quite hot, but the rest of the car and handling really wasn't up to it, and they were quite frightening. However, they are worth quite a lot of money now, mainly because there are so few left. But yeah, a little Simca 1000, I'd rock one of them as a daily, no worries. Ah, dear me. So, anyway, There you go. That's kind of your lot. What? Come on. And somebody must have something worth telling me about. I've got an out. You've heard all of my news, which is not that new and not that interesting. So, what are you all up to? What you got planned for this weekend? Apart from Nick, who's probably going to spend the weekend on a sunbed so he doesn't look too pasty on the beach in Malta on Tuesday. Not that I'm bitter or anything, you bastard. No, I hope you have a great time, although I don't see how you can fail. You've brought another Corsair by accident. That's quite clumsy. By accident. However, do tell, is it going to be a stock Corsair, or is it going to have your magic wand waved at it? And I mean magic wand, that's not a vile euphemism for something. Yes, what are the plans? So you're now a 2 Corsair family? Marvellous, I'm having that. Corsairs seem to be like totally overlooked in the considering how hard people pull themselves about, Mark 1 and 2 Escorts, Mark 1 and 2 and 3 Cortinas and early Capris. Corsairs seem to be like the poor relation. I always thought they were quite a handsome car. But there we go. Yeah, so you've got to tell me now. Being worth a lot of money, I see a 1984 Mark II Transit van has just sold for 42 grand. Only 18,000 miles from new. What was it used for? Bloody delivering groceries around the miniature village. Oh, it's got a 3-litre V6. 3-litre V6? Am I right in thinking that if you unbolted a V4, you could throw a V6 in there without a fat lot of trouble? And 4-pot of subscription? Okay. Why do you keep wanting to get your knob out in this weather? I have a compulsion to embarrass myself. And if I got it out in this weather, I would embarrass myself. I'm bloody cold, I'll tell you what, it wouldn't cast much of a shadow. Kind of. Not that it would in lovely weather, really. Who am I trying to kid? Oh, I'll get naked in warm weather, I look like a capital Q. Okay, well, why take the V6 out? Although I should imagine that a big lump of cast iron V6 that far to the front of the car would make handling a trifle interesting. And yet no more interesting than, say, a Savage Cortina or something. Anyway, you tell me. You're the Corsair geezer. And what 4-pot are you planning? You know the EcoBoost 2.3 4-pot that comes in like S550 Mustangs and whatnot? Has anybody used one of them for a build? Because it strikes me that they must be a bit sprightly, because I took one down. So somebody put a picture of, one of these memories on Facebook. And it was 2000 oh God, must have been 2015. And it was taken on the return road at Shaky of me driving the Ford's Press Fleet S550 EcoBoost convertible. It didn't sound right because it was a 4-cylinder, but it was a sprightly car to drive. And that Ford Mustang convertible, not a bloody flyweight thing. It was feckin' heavy, and it still, picked its toes up. I'm sure I was running 14s in it. And apparently they're like 300 odd horsepower. Yeah, there you go. And yet, you'd have thought people would have been banging them in old Fords left, right and centre, and I've yet to see one. However, I haven't really been looking. Has anybody else been looking? So Lee says, a cheap one, probably MX-5. Well, that seems to be the go-to budget option. It is today's Pinto, isn't it? So, what about the 1.62 litre and even the 1 litre EcoBoost in a Ford Pop or Morris Minor? Now, the 1 litre was a 3-pot, wasn't it? And I have a friend who works at Dagenham, who was saying that some of the guys in the development booths were playing around with those little 3-litre So the 3-pot 1 litre EcoBoost things, and were complaining to manufacturing that once you tweak them up past 750 horsepower, the crankshaft broke. David Vizard has a 2.3 Mustang well into the 13s with no trouble. David Vizard, really? And when you say 2.3 Mustang, is that the modern EcoBoost, not the old Pinto stroke Lima one from the 70s and 80s? Aren't they supposed to be incredibly unreliable? I don't know. I'm afraid I do not pay attention to what 1 litre Ford engines do anymore. Those little eco booms blow up regularly. Ah, right. Well, like I say, from the horse's mouth, apparently once you get them past 700 horsepower, they tend to break the crank. But 700 horsepower per litre is not to be sniffed at. But yeah, I really don't know anything about them. But yeah, I was thinking that sadly, if they are unreliable, that's no good. But if they were reliable and that pokey, I mean, didn't they fit them in feckin' Mondeos at one point? Big family saloons. Wouldn't that be a lot of fun in the back of a little rear-engine bizarre 60s thing from behind the Iron Curtain? Tiny little motor, short, very powerful. Or you could throw it in something like a Wartburg, take the 3-cylinder 2-stroke out, drop a 1 litre EcoBoost in, and ding dong. But yeah, if they're unreliable, then tits to it. Not that I was planning on doing it anyway, it'd be a lovely idea. Oh, dear me. But yeah, just have to go back to the old sort of bonkers motorbike engine for the back of my Zafrochettes. Oh well. 1 litre EcoBoost Austin 7. Now you're talking. That would be groovy. David Vizard of a 2.3 EcoBoost. Yeah. David Vizard of various books as well. Didn't he write the Bible on A-series engines? In fact, didn't he also write the Bible on Rover V8s? No, he didn't. Or did he? But yeah, proper old-school technical writer and very good. Over here in the 60s and 70s, that's it. And they are a big, heavy car for a 2.3 litre engine to drag around. Oh, fair play to the man. A lot of Americans complain about the V6 EcoBoost engines, do they? Or do they just complain that they're not V8s? Is that the problem? Yeah. This is the thing, is that I think they've kind of pushed production V8s as far as they can go. And now, with the whole world switching to electric, don't get me started on that shit, I can't imagine that there's been a lot of R&D done on ICE engines. So what we've got now is by and large going to be it. I remember the 8-plug 2.1 Pinto, and I'm sure I remember reading about it in Cars and Car Conversions. Turbines are way cooler than electric. Bah, me in a frock would be cooler than electric. And about as camp. I'm sorry, I know electric powered cars can go really, really fast and all this, that and the other, but no. It's just, oh God. Yeah, anyway, he built this 8-plug, twin plug Pinto. Hemorrhoids are cooler than it. Yes, I'm absolutely with you on that one. And I just cannot get excited. Turbines, however, possibly could get excited about. David Hardcastle, well done, Ian. Yes. In fact, I believe I've got that book somewhere. I've got like thousands of books here. I'm sure I have that Rover V8 book somewhere. David Hardcastle, yes. And David Vizard was the A series book, wasn't it? Yes. I'm sure it was, because I remember reading that when I had a... What did I have? A Morris Minor. Never saw the road. It was... I bought it needing a lot of restoration work, so what was the first thing I did? Bought a book on how to make the engine more powerful. Ignore the fact that there wasn't a lot in the way of flaws. Let's make the engine more powerful. Oh well. Yeah, another one of mine that never happened. Right, I'll tell you what. I've just noticed that I've been clacking. Oh, David Vizard built a 400 horsepower Pinto with a Muncie 4-speed and put it in a Pinto car. Okay. Well, I mean, there is that guy. Randwell's. Did he build it specifically for drags? If so, I would have gone with the C4 rather than a Muncie. But fair play to the fella. And yeah, interesting. He'd be a good interview. He must be cracking on some now, David Vizard. Any road. Right, enough of this. Yes, I've just noticed I've been clacking on for over an hour. I have made bricks without clay in terms of managing once again to yak for an hour with nothing to yak about. So thank you to all of you for helping me stretch that turd out to a thin smear. So yes, I shall. Oh, Chris, I wish someone would take the old Singer overhead cam engine, stick a twin cam, stick a blower on it. Well, didn't Riley do a twin cam engine that fits that bill? And a David Vizard's daughter drag race to Minia to track me. Magna Park is near Lutterworth on the A5. Okay. Lutterworth. That must be going back some what if? I think it was a what if. Sorry, forgot it was turbocharged. Ah, right, okay. Right, yes, so I'm buggering off. I shall hopefully see you all this time next week. Except for those of you who are going to Malta, in which case I will say bon voyage, safe travels, and... because... not that I'm jealous. So yeah, have a great trip if you go in, and yeah, I shall hopefully speak to you all, like I said, this time next week. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for joining in. Whatever you're doing this weekend, have a really good weekend. And yeah, I shall speak to you all soon. So, thanks a lot. Good night. Bye-bye.